Anybody ever seen anything like this? What? What's that business? It's another way to write a function. That would be an anonymous function. We could give it a name, do the thing. Just like we could say, very similar. Don't have to use the keyword function. Takes up a little less space. And there's another very important difference in the way it works. But we're not going to get into that until tomorrow when it actually matters. But you'll see this a lot these days. This was introduced in ES6 or ES 2015. Call them arrow functions. And when we do anonymous functions, we pretty much always use arrow functions now. In fact, I pretty much use them all the time. But we wouldn't understand how they worked if we didn't kind of experience the pain of doing it the other way. So we're going to continue to do it the other way for a little bit so we can understand how it works. But you'll especially see them as callbacks. In other words, functions that you're passing to other functions. So up here where we have, wherever it is, our for each, a lot of times instead of writing function parentheses label, you would say label equal greater than an arrow. Call that the fat arrow. With a minus, it would be a skinny arrow, which doesn't do anything in JavaScript. But it's a common syntax in another language for things like this. So, for our purposes, that does the same thing. Another interesting note about these, if there's only one argument in the arguments list, you can leave out the parentheses, which you will often see people do. If there's two arguments, you have to have the parentheses. If there's no arguments, you have to put in empty parentheses. But if there's only one, the parentheses are optional. Kind of makes this read a little nicer. For each label, do this. So we'll use it here. We're not going to go too deep into how this is different from just using a function declaration, but we will in the future. But now you've seen an arrow function, and if you wanted to learn more about them, you could Google JavaScript arrow function. Does it still work? Make sure I didn't break it with this newfangled syntax. Still works. And it did refresh, right? Yeah. All right, we're good. Use an ES6 arrow function in for each. Just because. Questions?